Hi everyone. In this video, I would like to introduce you archiving under Matomo Analytics. So actually, what is archiving? Actually, it's a terms that you mainly see within Matomo Analytics and not in other solutions, basically because you are not in charge of the server maintenance. But basically, if you are using or if you use Google Analytics in the past, you will see when you look at their documentation that at many attempts they are talking about like the after 24 hours time for today's date, and even they are saying sometimes that actually, or at least what's the case in the old documentation, that they are processing reports at midnight Californian hours, and they always recommend you not to look for the data of the day, or at least they strongly advise you to analyze the data carefully because not all data could be included within the 2 days date. And this is almost what archiving is about in Matomo Analytics. So let's describe it in a little bit more detail. Archiving means processing raw data. Okay, so now your big question is, what does it mean then, raw data? So basically, archiving means generating reports within Matomo Analytics. So just to show you what a report is about, when you just go here within the demo of Matomo, all the information that you are seeing right now in these dashboards are coming actually from the processing of raw data in order to make some reports. Okay, so for example, here is one report, here is one report, here is another report, and here is another report. All those four reports are made from archiving. Okay, so this is what archiving is about. Archiving is about taking out raw data in order to filter, modify, and let's say make the report sexy, or at least just have the data that you wish to have and show them up within the Matomo back end. Okay, this is what it is about. So what does the raw data look like actually? The basic report that you can have a look at in order to have a broad idea of what raw data is the visitor log report. So here basically you have all the raw data which are included for a given user, right? So for example here, we don't know actually who is this person, but all the data are processed here, are at least registered for this one person. So it's taking out the date, the time of the date, the refer, the provider, the plugin associated to his browser, the browser version, and so on and so forth. So this is one line, one entry of raw data. Okay, all the data are set up here, and so far no mathematics are done. Okay, so I cannot have on this report, for example, the full calculation of all the visitor on my website. I cannot know exactly how many browsers are using Chrome came on my website, because actually this report is the visitor log report and is composed actually of all the raw data. So if I extract this data, you will have a better idea maybe of what are raw data. So in fact, each line that we have here is a raw data entry. So if we just pick up this one, you will see that actually all the data linked to this given user, okay, to this given visitor, are registered within this line. Okay, so those are a good example of, in my case, let's go here, of 1, 2, 11. So this is an example of 10 raw data entry line which have been registered within Matomo Analytics. Okay, and those are raw data, so it's pretty fast actually to get them, but it's not giving you much extra value, because it means now that actually you need to use Calc or either Excel in order to make the mathematics and understand actually how many visitors came on your website. Okay, for example, here in my case, I had to count from here to there in order to know that 10 visitors came on my website, and that's definitely not something that you would like to do, and you would like actually to have sexy reports in order to just extract the data that you are looking for. And this is exactly what archiving is about. Okay, archiving is about making the calculation for you in order to get the report that you want. Okay, so um, archiving can be quite long and requires a lot of effort from the server. Okay, so you can imagine the more raw data you have, and then actually the more effort you're gonna ask Matomo to do. So, for example, let's say that you are moving from this report now, from the visitor log report to the devices report. Then it means that just by accessing this page, you are asking to Matomo to process raw data for 4 different reports, so to make like 4 different set of calculation in order to grab all those raw data, make the mathematics, and then make them appear within the Matomo's interface for the given date that you selected. So as you can imagine, it requires far more effort of just sending you broadly all the data here as raw data. Okay, so this is what actually archiving can be quite long, require a lot of effort from your server, and can sometimes actually break your Matomo backend when you see some error messages, and what they're telling you is actually you are asking too much from your server, and your server is not able actually to answer to that. So you can imagine, for example, that you are going to a bar. Okay, so you go to a bar and you're asking for a whiskey to the server. So the server is coming back to you with the whiskey. But then instead of having just one person asking him a whiskey, you have like 100 of person who are just coming to this bar and asking actually to the server to have different drinks. And this is exactly what is happening here in Matomo. When you go, for example, on the report such as devices one, then you're asking too many things at the same time. So as a result, the server is collapsing. So what Matomo will try to tell you is please hire other servers, or hire a stronger server, a more powerful server in order to handle so many requests at the same time. Okay, how can we fix that actually? How can we fix the latency? We can fix that out with what we call a cron. Okay, a cron is a specific command line on a Linux server which allow actually to set specific frequency on which those reports are going to be processed. And this is exactly what is happening when you go within the backend of Matomo and you have here the archiving settings. Here, basically, you are telling him, okay, do you want me to ask to the Matomo server if some new raw data are coming in? And if they are coming in, I want you to update the reports every time that I'm requesting those reports. Okay, so of course, if you click here on yes, what will happen is that every time that some new data will coming in, then and that you select, for example, the date of today, then they're going to make back the calculation, and of course you're going to have um, some latencies. That's the case, of course, if your server cannot handle those requests. If it can handle those requests because you are a pretty good server, then no problem. You should not see any loading time. But that's why it's not recommended actually to archive reports viewed on the browser when you have, for example, large Matomo installation. And then here, this is what we call the cron. So the cron is telling you, okay, when do you want me actually to update, let's say, the processing of the reports? So if you put it to the minimum, it means that every report that you're going to see for the date of today, you are going to ask him to look if some new raw data came within the system and then come back to you. And then it's going to make your system very, very slow, and that's not good at all, right? So that's why it's always recommended to have here the longest period possible if you do not care about real-time processing and getting real-time data. But the best thing you can do is actually to set what we call a cron tab in order to process the data at a time in which you are not behind a Matomo's backhand. Okay, and that's exactly what Google Analytics is doing, like doing it at midnight, because they know that you will not be in front of your computer at midnight, and that's exactly what you can do within Matomo by setting actually the archiving process at a specific time. And this is exactly what you can do here within the cron tab configuration that I leave it to you for deeper inspection. Okay, so yeah, this is everything that I wanted to show you, and just for you to understand that archiving really relates to Matomo, to the possibility of Matomo to generate those reports. So every time that you are seeing one of those reports, just imagine that behind you have a computer which is making some mathematics in order actually to give you an access to those reports. Thanks for watching.